along with us.
What is that?
Medical.
Listening. Rathalos.
Milla, on the other hand, when she became involved in the movie, she started playing Monster Hunter World, and her favorite weaponry was the dual blades. So we gave her the dual blades in the movie.
Ah.
I love how they power up. What is that? You gotta tell me about that. And the ease with which you can use them in the video game, because I tried all different manner of weapons to see what I like best. And I felt like the dual blades, they were just an all-around great weapon.
Milla's swords, she carries them on her back like this. The first time Milla walked into my office, she picked these things up, and I can't do it.
I love sword work, and so it really gave me a chance to kind of do what I'm good at doing.
One of the great things about these landscapes is they add reality to the monsters. It gave the animators who are doing the creatures reality to lock into. There's real sun, there's real wind, so it makes the monsters look more real. It was a real pleasure to put them on screen.
My favorite monster would have to be the Rathalos. You know, he's just such a rock star, and he's so badass and big, and I love dragons.
Rathalos, he's one of the toughest creatures to kill. He's a beautiful creation. He's been in nearly all of the games. But one of my personal favorites is a creature called the Nasilla, which is kind of like a cross between the alien and a giant spider. There's a creature called the Diablos. She's angry, and she lives underneath the sand, and she's one of the main adversaries that our characters have to face in the first half of the movie. And there's also the Remobra, which is a creature from some of the earlier games. It's like a cross between a hammerhead shark and a snake. And also the Palico. These are characters from the games that are these cat creatures that are super intelligent. And this Palico is called Meowscular Chef, and he once was a warrior. And then at the very end of the film, we have the Gormagala, which is a very rare creature from some of the earlier games, and that's a kind of setup for a little sequel, potentially.
Hi, I'm Kerry van der Leenveld. I'm the props master on Monster Hunter. Starts with Paul, who gives his vision, and then we create it big.
My God.
It's one of the features of the game is they have these huge weapons, which is fine when you're a pixelated character, but when you have a human being that has to handle these massive weapons, it's more of a challenge. And I remember showing Tony his weapons for the first time. I showed him the great sword, and it's taller than Tony is.
Everybody picks up this sword and goes, oh! Tony Jar walked into my office, he picked it up and he went,
He started doing the most amazing stuff with it. He picked it up, he starts twirling it around, and he went, ha-ha! They said, that's great, Tony, but you also have to carry this. And we gave him the great bow as well, which is even bigger than the sword.
When we made them, we give a copy to Stunts, and once they're happy with it, then they bring the cast member in, and they show him what to do. And then obviously being Tony Jar, he brings his interpretation to it. They train and they train and they train, so by the time they get to set, that's a well-oiled machine.
I got into Monster Hunter 11 years ago. I played it in Japan. I fell in love with the creatures, the beautiful landscapes, the themes of the video game. So I optioned it from Capcom.
My husband optioned the property rights to this game like 10 years ago, and he's been obsessed with this game for the last decade.
This has been the longest I've ever worked on a film project, and I'm kind of glad that it took that long because the game has evolved. It's become a worldwide phenomenon.
Monster Hunter is a Capcom game, and they've done a fantastic job in building this franchise. It's been remarkable how much they've allowed us to take this project and adapt it in a way that we think it could become a feature.
Absolutely.
The fans of all these games are very passionate about the games, and so when you stick your head above the parapet and make a film about the game, you better get it right.
There's not a lot of information on the internet, so we hired a consultant who's a gamer who's managed to finish this game. He came in and he would dress avatars for us, and then we managed to compile quite a good wardrobe that we could pull from.
We reference things that you might not notice straight away, things like hieroglyphics on the rocks, for instance, you know? The game is splattered with them, and so it's a subtle thing, but it means a massive thing to the fans.
Let's do this.
Let's go.
The people who made this movie love Monster Hunter.
It was a crazy shoot, amazing locations. This is an adventure.
Paul's very successful at taking games and turning them into movies.
It's Lawrence of Arabia with monsters, an epic genre movie.
I was so excited when we saw Stadsal Cave, straight out of the game.
One of the great things about these landscapes is it makes the monsters look more real.
Tony is like a real-life superhero. It's crazy.
Milla brings a real inherent toughness and sense of honor to Artemis.
One of the features of the game is they have these huge weapons.
I was always a real fan of the dual blades.
To see all of these characters come to life, it was a wonderful moment.